going to introduce the film, but first we have some special guests tonight. We have James E. Tate Jr., City of Detroit Councilman, and State Senator Burt Johnson from the 2nd District, and they'd like to make a special presentation to Ms. Grier.
So, I gotta tell you, when I had the opportunity, when it was put upon me that I had the opportunity to not only meet you, but to offer you some token of appreciation from the state of Michigan and special tribute, I jumped at it. So I'm not gonna read it because it chronicles a lot of things. It talks about your career, it talks about your trailblazing ways, and I just gotta tell you, I'm standing on the stage with Pam Grier. So from the state of Michigan.
I didn't touch him, I swear.
From the entire Michigan legislature, and more especially from our governor, I wanted to say welcome back to Detroit.
Thank you.
Keep on coming back.
Thank you.
And we will keep supporting you.
Thank you. And Detroit and Michigan, as you are becoming this renaissance, this most powerful city, you never lost it. That's why I'm a part of the rebuild and recognition. And we love Detroit. Trust me, I love Detroit. I was here this summer for the Women's Automotive Summit, hosted by Rainbow Push and Subaru, one of my sponsors for my charities, and I saw all these women executives that did not exist in the 70s. They were at the summit of Detroit. Women rock the summit. Yes, they did.
Our story is yet finished. I also brought a tribute for the Redford Theatre because the way in which you all have continued to carve a niche in the theater market in this city, where you haven't succumbed to blight and abandonment and left us. The fact that you're still here, hosting folks like Pam Grier, we appreciate you too.
We had to be here.
Woo!
Can I take you home? Ooh, you have some fine senators here. Well, can I tell you, y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we elect them, don't we? You know.
Before we introduce Jackie Brown, I don't think it can be overstated how popular Pam Grier's films were in the city of Detroit back in the 1970s. In researching the Big Dollhouse premiere, I was trying to figure out exactly what theater it opened in. And it turns out it's the Grand Circus Theater, which is now the Opera House, right?
Yes.
Right. And that's where the film premiered. And it did so well in the first week that I found the ad for the second week. It showed lines around the corner and it said, "These lines don't lie. Second week for the Big Dollhouse." And people flocked to those films. And when I interviewed you before, you talked about women and men seeing the film 3 and 4 times.
Yes, and brought their children. Oh, they've been right since. You know, I raised them well. What can I tell you? But we were discovering, yes, you're welcome. You're welcome, my son. But we were finding our audiences, and without the audience, there is no actor. So thank you for being for us in the film community and for my career. So that's been 45 years, so that's a nice journey.
But you were aware of this Detroit audience? So you say when you went on this big bus tour to open the film?
No, I was not. The studio had set up through the local Detroit advertising companies, like, well, we got to go there and find the audience. They didn't. They went blindly and set it up. People showed up and said, no, we're going to see this. We're going to see what's going on, and enjoyed it. It wasn't, you know, Moses. However, it represented in so many ways women, exotic places, the women's movement, and so many things. It so many issues, and I was a part of that. So it meant a lot for people to see a woman that independent, that I had brought my family's narrative to film, because my grandfather was the one that wanted all the girls to do everything the boys did, so I brought that to film. He even prepared me for the leeches that bit me in the Philippines, and all that kind of stuff. So it prepared me, for what was to come, death. But anyway,
we're going to get into a lot of these other films at the intermission. The way it's going to work is I'm going to be fielding some questions in the lobby at intermission. If you want to ask Ms. Grier something, see me in the back, and we got to keep it kind of quick again because of the length of the film. So again, that's how we're going to do the Q&A at the intermission, right after the 50-50 raffle. But now, I don't think we can really talk about Jackie Brown without talking about its author. And that author, of course, the author of the original book, Rum Punch. Who am I talking about?
Elmore Leonard, yes.
The late, great Elmore Leonard, who unfortunately passed away just last year.
Right.
And my understanding is that you had seen him.
I had spoken with him on several occasions. He made me a better writer as I was reading his novels. And when he came to the set of Jackie Brown, it was so humbling. He said, I just wanted you. You know, you crazy. You bring my life to my book. So I said, I hope I do you justice and do you well. And it was amazing.
And you say you had seen him at a book signing?
Yes, he was at a book signing, and I just thought I'd get in line and get one of his books. It was in Colorado, and he couldn't believe I would stand in line with a couple of books and some neighbors. And he saw me, and he just stopped, and he was just like, wait a minute, hold it. The actress that played Jackie Brown, based on Redford, is standing in line. Come up here. He wanted me to come up and say hello, and he was just, you know, I had to pay him back. Thank him for that opportunity by standing in line and buying some more of his books.
We went over this a bit before, but and I didn't know this until yesterday, that you were actually involved in the audition process for Pulp Fiction.
Right.
Pre-Jackie, that's the film, of course, that came before Jackie Brown.
Right.
Could you talk about that?
Very briefly, because I walked in and Quentin didn't know how tall I was. He thought I'd lied, you know. They said, oh, actors, I see they're so tall. And Eric Stoltz, supposed to play my boyfriend, was like up to here. So he said, oh, that's not gonna work. Eric's gonna try to kick her butt, and it's not gonna work. You just look at Pam and go, yeah, really? Really, honey? So I didn't get it, but in Quentin's office were all of my posters on his wall. Stalker. And he said, you know, Pam, you know, I really thought of taking them down before you got here. But I didn't. I left them up. And I said, well, I'm humbled. Thank you so much. They're fantastic. Can I have one? No. So, you know, he has this collection. It was a wonderful experience. And of course, I wanted to work with Eric and everyone. But he said, don't worry, I'll find something for you. Fast forward 3 years later, it was Jackie Brown. And he took 2 years out of his life to write it for me. So how can I owe him at least one child for doing that for me. You know how women maybe get, yeah, I got it. Yeah, here's your child, look just like you. So anyway.
You saw him on the street and he had said, I got something, and you didn't believe it.
Later, no, you don't believe people who are going to write a major, I mean, he's epic. He was Pulp Fiction. He named me in Reservoir Dogs. You know, I fell out my seat, the whole theater. Here she is, she's sitting out here watching it. And when someone does that for you, it's very humbling. How do you repay someone, you know, for doing that, recognizing your work and your courage and your mistakes and your, you know, everything that you're about. And so he was on the street, and I was in the car with Warrington Hedlund, my boyfriend at the time, and said, that's Quentin Tarantino, and he's writing a movie for you. And I thought he was crazy, you know, Hedlund Brothers, house party, he crazy. And he said, no, let's get up there and talk to him. And so Warrington called him over and said, hey, Quentin, here's Pam Grier. Quentin lost his mind. He just like, And he says, hey, I'm writing a script for you. And when I finish, I'll send it to you. You know how fast he does. And oh my God. 6 months later, it came, Jackie Brown. And even when I read it, I thought it was Bridget Fonda's part. That's how dense I am. He said, no, you're Jackie Brown. He says, this is my Foxy Brown. And let me give you a little tidbit about Quentin when he directs. You notice the movie, it's timeless. You don't know what era it is. The cars are vintage, deuce and a quarters, the music, shy lights, the style. It's timeless. You can't pinpoint. And he just loves not only the 70s, but he loves not locking into a time and a place. Everything was, you know, kind of all over the place. It was great that he's such a detailed filmmaker. And he literally painted my apartment, Jackie Brown's apartment, like 7 times before he settled on the color. And he didn't want me to sleep in the apartment. That's a part of my process. Knowing where my refrigerator is, knowing where my, you know, my record player and how I use it every day is. So I used to sleep in that apartment at night, and they got mad at me.
Were you aware of how he worked with the rehearsal process?
Yeah, I just wish he had stayed at the apartment with me. But okay, and he has a process where if you don't rehearse, you can't work with him. And a lot of actors have to rehearse. And the day that he said, "Hey, you'll never believe who's coming," Robert De Niro, raging bull. Oh my God. Michael Keaton. I knew Michael Keaton when he was a stand-up comedian before he did Beetlejuice, and he should have won an Oscar for that. He was fantastic in Beetlejuice. No one could keep up with him. And then Robert Forster and Bridget Fonda, and then Samuel L. Jackson, who was the all-time favorite, gonna play Ordell. And I get to put the gun between his legs. So anyway, I knew I was gonna have fun. She's out there, I hear her.
We're going to have a lot more questions at intermission about this film and her other films and all the other aspects of her life and the people she's been involved with. Please share with me those questions out in the lobby at the intermission. We're going to get started with the film. Pam Grier, Jackie Brown.